Good evening and welcome to the Monday, December 8th, Maplewood Economic Development Authority meeting. Assistant City Manager Darrow, would you do the roll call for us?
Sure. Commissioner Villavicencio.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Present.
Commissioner Juniman.
Here.
Vice President Cave.
Here.
And President Abrams.
I'm here as well. Thank you. Commissioners, would someone like to make a motion to
So
approve
moved.
our agenda? Second. That was really quick there.
I don't know, I felt a little jolt with the vice presidency.
Kicked in right away.
Okay.
All right, moved by Cave, seconded by Juniman, the motion to approve our agenda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we have the approval of our minutes from our September 22nd, 2025 meeting, a special meeting minutes. Would someone like to make that motion?
I move approval.
Second.
Juniman, seconded by Lee, the motion to approve the minutes from our September 22nd, 2025 EDA special meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We have no public hearing tonight, unfinished business. We have a discussion on our EDA budget, and Mr. Rube is going to be kicking this off for us tonight. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam President and Commissioners. Commissioners, right? Okay. Thank you for allowing to present on this tonight. We'll be discussing the 2026 EDA budget and tax levy. The budget process started way back in May with a kickoff meeting, and then throughout the year we've discussed both the regular city budget as well as the EDA budget and where the EDA would like to go with the EDA. So staff has prepared some budgets for both revenue and expenditures. So taking a look first at the revenues for the EDA budget. When looking at 2026, we didn't have an original budget. As you recall, we took the funds that we were planning using for EDA and we moved them towards the tree program. So we don't have any budgets set for 2025. For 2026, starting off with taxes of $336,000, that would be about a $37 cost to the median home value in Maplewood, or about $3.08 per month. That would help with the initiatives of helping to develop the city and spark up some redevelopment in different areas of the city to help with the tax base and just making sure the city's in tip-top shape. We have grants in here, just $50,000 for looking for opportunities to partner with other entities to do additional programming within the city. And then we have $587,610 for LAHA funds. We received that amount in 2025, and we anticipate receiving about the same amount, if not more, in 2026. And I should mention the LAHA is the Local Affordable Housing Aid. That aid is based off of a special sales tax. For expenditures for 2026, we're looking at wages of $200,000, professional services $170,000, interest payments of $83,810, and that has to do with the interfund loan that goes to the sanitary sewer fund. And then $221,510. That represents the 2024 amount received from LAHA, the aid that we received in 2024. Those funds have to be committed by the end of 2027 and spent by the end of 2028. Our hope is not to keep it that long and commit it that long. It would be to get it back out into the community to do some good.
Mr. Rube, can I ask a question?
Yes.
The professional services, does that include the group that we had interviewed, that Ms. Parr brought to us concerning the residential loan program? Ms. Parr, do you know what I'm talking?
Madam President,
and members of the EDA. Are we talking about the housing rehab program?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Great question. No, that is not a portion of that particular piece. That is made up of a lot of the things that were talked about in relation to the economic development work that we're going to be taking on in 26, the coming year. Part of that strategy we talked about,
Right.
a lot of it comes from that area.
So what is included in the professional services portion of the budget? Mr. Sable,
Let me pull that out.
Mr. Rube?
You go first.
Sure. I was just going to mention, I don't have the exact details on that. It was, sorry,
Can I chime in?
Yes.
I don't have it on. I don't have it in front of me. I'm sorry I didn't bring it, but it entailed a number of different areas that we wanted to bring in professional services to cover specific things. One was a housing study. There was one related to. Trying to think what the other ones were. There was a market study we were looking at in relation to it as well. I can grab it. I know exactly where it's sitting in my office, but I don't have it in
You
front
know,
of me.
I should have sent out an email today, but I didn't think about it until right now when I saw this. And I just wondered if that housing rehab, utilizing outside consultants for that, if that was included in that.
That's a separate.
So that, Madam President, Commissioners, that housing rehab loan program is a separate fund. What these are intended to do is to in a lot of ways, be largely placeholder amounts in anticipation of work that's upcoming. So as the EDA, as the economic development strategy said, right, the part of the rationale was to help build some fund balance so that the city could be more proactive in responding to developer needs. Because this concept of a total expenditures of $675,000, if money goes unspent, it would then go towards the EDA fund balance, which was part of the overall strategy to bolster that. So in many ways, there is not a person identified who would be a salary of $200,000, but it is a function of identifying certain accounts that could be funded. But right now, the expectation is that part of the EDA budget adoption includes the levy, which hasn't been levied before, to support that growth and development. I think the one thing that, the one professional service that I would want to make note of is the hosting of a developer forum as an ability to attract more prominent developers to Maplewood, so people can, now that we have successfully landed a D.R. Horton project, now that we've been successful, J.B. Vang has had multiple projects back to back, that we are on a different level of radar in terms of developer who was interested in this. And so I know in talking to J.B. Vang, they are potentially interested in one more project in 2026. Having a placeholder for potential professional services to support that is just good budgeting. We don't actually know that when it will come in. We anticipate it coming in, but we don't know exactly when. And so part of these numbers are broad to give us some flexibility, so it's not just truly just hoarding fund balance. We want. And so, Danette, you want to add a little
Yeah,
more?
thank you. The one thing I would add is when we looked at our work plan in regards to the economic development strategy, one of those, if you look back at that document that was created, one of them actually called out where the funds would come from each of those activities. And we have a line item, and a lot of those we did show grants, potential grants. That's our first line that's our first strategy. As City Manager Sable had indicated, if that doesn't come to fruition, this is our fallback basically to cover those. It's a placeholder to cover those so we can still continue our work even if we're not in the climate of being able to get grants as readily as we've been successful thus far.
Thank you, that's very helpful.
Thank you. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, there was no levy for 2025. However, we are proposing a $636,000 levy for 2026. How that affects the homeowners and residents in Maplewood is approximately $37 annually, or 71 cents per week. And that's based off of a median home value of $353,300, which is a 3.7% increase from 2024. So As we go through all the budget presentations that we do, especially at this time of the year, we do want to bring out the resources and share those with the property owners when it comes to the property taxes. If they have questions, they have concerns in that, and what their options are. So this is the information that's provided from Ramsey County. We'd like to remind residents to make sure that their homes are homestead and that they have that set up. So there's an application that is due December 31st, 2025, if they don't currently have that. But that will help lower the value of the house because they're part of that exclusion. And then there's the state tax refunds, and I'll get into that a little bit more on the next slide. The senior property tax deferral for homeowners 65 and over. And then there can be, residents can file a petition with the courts if they feel like their property value is too high. So go a little bit more into it with the state program. There's two different types. The regular, if you own the home and lived in it January 2nd of 2025, and the household income of 2024 was less than $139,320. The other one is a special refund. If you lived in the home from January 2nd, 2024, and on January 2nd, 2025, and the value increased by over 12% from 2024 to 25, and the increase was at least $100. So those are some additional options. And then just wanted to point out how the homestead market value exclusion works. So it reduces the taxable market value of the home, which then ultimately decreases the potential property taxes that the homeowner is going to pay. The maximum exclusion is $38,000, and that exclusion reduces as the value of the house goes up, and it phases out as the homes get closer to or at $17,200. And this is just
We have a question before you move on. I think Councilmember Cave?
Just a question, Joe. There's the Minnesota Revenue has a homestead tax credit. Is there also a renter's credit that people can use?
I believe there is. There is a renter's credit, but
Okay.
we can add that to our website under the
Okay.
budget. So we can add all these different resources
Yeah.
for residents, and then we can look at and pull up the information for renters.
Great, thank you. And I just wanted to say with the homestead, I had a house for quite a few years and I never knew about it. I mean, I didn't know about it till I think I had a house for 15 years. It was just something that they don't bring up in taxes, and people just don't think that you can, if you make under a certain amount, that you can actually get a refund back. And if you can only go back like 1 year also. I mean, they're very strict on how far you can go back with it. So just so people know that if you own a house, this is definitely, you need to look into doing this. So, thank you.
And definitely, it's one of the things that the county is actually pushing a little bit more, is just reminding people to make sure that they have their houses homestead, so they get that credit. And this is a slide that Ramsey County Department of Revenue has provided, and it kind of shows how that exclusion works and how it tapers off over the value of your property. With that, staff is recommending that the EDA adopts the 2026 EDA budget and adopts the EDA levy at $636,000. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Rube before we start our discussion? Mr. Sable?
Thank you, Madam President, Commissioners. I wanted to say that this has been kind of a first of its kind for the city of Maplewood. So we started talking about the Economic Development Strategic Plan on February 10th, which feels like decades ago, but it was only 10 months ago. And this, I think the EDA did a really good job of kind of methodically working through what it had hoped to do with economic development in the community, saw an opportunity to play a slightly larger role in helping to shape the future of development. The strategic plan was adopted in August, and part of this conversation has been having a seat at the table when an opportunity presents itself, and this is a small way to get there. If you remember, Stacy from Ellers talked about last year, building a war chest so you can be a player. We're nowhere near a $5 million war chest, but slow incremental progress to that does give us an opportunity to be part of a conversation and to shape development in a way that we probably haven't in the past. And so I appreciate that this is new, but the process and the discussion and the dialogue to get here has been long and thorough. And so we are proud to put forward this request.
Thank you. You know, we have been working very hard with staff's guidance on what we can do to ensure the future of our community, future growth, future development, and none of this comes easy. And, you know, here we are, we're talking about, you know, raising some funds in order to do this. And, you know, it's certainly, when you look at it, it's $37 a year. And yes, that will be a challenge for some people. And, you know, it's hard. I don't know that there's ever any really good time to do something like this. But in my mind, this is what we need to do. If, you know, let's think about all the programs that we talked about last year, and the home rehab program, and having a developers forum, that really the future of our city is sitting in our hands right now. And it's one of those, this is a decision to commit to the future. It's tough because tonight we're talking about our levy as well. Everybody's talking about, you know, the increases. What is the school district going to be increasing? What's Ramsey County going to be increasing? You know, we keep hearing about the projections for the state. Now there's going to be a little bit of a surplus before we wind up with, you know, another deficit. And so these are hard decisions. But I certainly am supportive of this. We have been doing this very incrementally, and this is not something that we have come to easily. But nevertheless, it's something that I think, I certainly believe that we need to move forward with this. So, Councilmember Lee.
Thanks for that, Mayor, and I agree with you on that component. I think there is no perfect time to do these type of work, and we have to do intentional work if we want to invest in our community. And Gladstone, as the previous council has prepped it for what it is today, you know, that was intentional investment, and this is how we get that intentional investment. So I do share the same sentiment, Mayor. I think this is a great levy that will help move our city to the next level. Something that I wanted to bring up to the council to discuss is, you know, and we talk about the costs of living. This year in particular, I've heard more from many constituents than the many years, the 3 years that I've been here on the council. You know, $5 million has been the mark that we've been talking about building a war chest, and I understand the importance of building a war chest for us to be prepared for the right opportunity when it comes. But I think then my understanding of this is this is ongoing. So I wanted to see if the council would consider putting together a plan, thinking, you know, $5 million is our mark. Is that where we put a pause on the levy and say, do we want to continue this levy? What can we do with $5 million then? Or do we, as a council, want to continue moving forward with this? I think this is just being mindful and being responsible in terms of managing our constituents' funding. We have our goal of $5 million. We've hit that. Do we then stop this levy?
Mr. Sable.
Thank you, Madam President and Commissioners and Commissioner Lee. I think Ron will say you're not able to bind the hands of a future council or a future EDA, so it can't be done by resolution. But I do think that premise of taking a look at what is the appropriate amount and what's the right level of taxation is a really important question. You know, when we talk about being having more influence in shaping development, fund balance that you can use helps you do that. And so, you know, someday in the future, we're going to be a partner in a sizable development. And so I think that's appropriate for that EDA to then decide, okay, are we good, or do we want to do more? And so I think what we'll pledge to do is to have sort of an annual conversation about what does that look like, because if no development occurs for 5 years, it's a different problem. And so I want to make sure that let the market conditions dictate that. But we can, between Joe and Danette and I, we can certainly put a placeholder to have this conversation at the EDA every year going forward, because I think it's important to not be on autopilot, but to continually check in to make sure that we're delivering what the EDA says it wants to deliver on. So that's my commitment to this governing body, is to have that conversation again next year.
I certainly think that's being fiscally responsible. One thing to keep in mind, too, is that this is not the only source of our revenue. The LAHA funds, grants are also possible. So, this isn't this isn't where it ends. But I think it is a very good idea that we revisit this every year to see where are we and whether or not we want to continue it or make some other change. So, thank you for that. We have two motions, council members, in front of us. Would someone like to, commissioners, would someone like to make one? The first one.
Motion to approve the resolution adopting the EDA budget and requesting city approval of the 2026 EDA budget.
Second.
Moved by Lee, seconded by Juniman. The motion to approve the resolution adopting the EDA budget and requesting city approval of the 2026 EDA budget. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. There's one more motion. Would someone like to make it?
Motion to approve the resolution requesting city approval of the 2026 EDA levy.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Juniman. The motion to approve the resolution requesting city approval of the 2026 EDA levy. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries as well. Next, we have new business, the EDA meeting calendar. Ms. Parr, this is yours.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the EDA. This is more of a housekeeping item. We do it every year about this time, getting ready for all the exciting things we have coming up next year. As you know, anytime you need to add a meeting to be responsive to something that comes up, which does happen a fair amount, especially this last year, you're welcome to call for a special meeting, or preferably, if we have a meeting, you can do it as a part of that, or it could be done separately. But we do typically, once a quarter, have a meeting scheduled in order to keep us on track, so to speak. So we have those meetings proposed. There are 5 of them, and they're consistent with what we've done in the past. If we need to alter those at any time, we can certainly do that as well. And so I make that for your consideration and motion if you see appropriate.
Would someone like to make the motion?
I move to approve the 2026 EDA meeting calendar with the meetings on January 12th, April 13th, July 13th, September 14th, and December 14th in 2026.
Second.
By Juniman, seconded by Villavicencio. The motion is written in our packet. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We've got our calendar for the year. Ms. Parr, next topic, business retention, expansion, and attraction discussion.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the EDA. So we have started this conversation a little bit in the past, but wanted to revisit it. For a number of years, we've been working with the St. Paul Area Chamber to help us facilitate our business retention, expansion, and attraction effort. We often shorten it up and say BRE&A, and that's what we're talking about. Most commonly, this involves the chamber, just from the most rudimentary standpoint. They call, they try to schedule appointments for us with our businesses. And once we have those meetings scheduled, we go out, and we have some basic things we try to make sure we cover. One, we want to show our appreciation first and foremost. We want them to know we appreciate them investing and choosing to be here in Maplewood. We also spend a fair amount of time talking about some baseline data in regards to employment, where are people coming from, just understanding the challenges they face, where there may be barriers, and where they've had some successes. One of the things we look for is, are they looking to expand? Or are they actually shrinking? We want to make sure that we are responsive to that and aware, so that we can maybe be of assistance to them so that they continue to grow and prosper here as well. We also use it as an opportunity to build that relationship. And we've seen in recent years, some cities have chosen to pull that back in-house in order to have that one-on-one relationship. It also provides a little clarity when not the St. Paul Area Chamber in particular, because I think they do a great job trying to help us. But I think in general, if it's an outside agency, sometimes that can be complicated when you call a business and they're like, oh, what is this? Are you part of the city? And, there's a little bit of a challenge some ways early on. Over time, they get used to it, but it has been a little bit of a challenge, I think, in that regard. And then we also, we find that since the pandemic, I don't want to blame everything on that, but it does seem like we have a lot more challenges in getting those business meetings set up. So I know the chamber has struggled a little bit in the last few years in regards to getting those set up. They've had some changes in staffing, but quite honestly, in reaching out and talking to the businesses, they're busy doing business, which is a good thing, but they don't necessarily, they haven't come back from the pandemic days when they didn't want you to come there. Now they are still kind of in that mode of, yeah, we'll try to schedule something, but it's a little bit more difficult for those to get scheduled. And I don't know so much that it's a chamber thing. It's, I think, the state of business today kind of thing. We have traditionally 5 legacy, we call them businesses, that we go to. Obviously 3M, the mall, our 2 school districts in St. John's. And we try to understand our climate, our business climate. They're kind of our baseline, and they're some of our larger and influential employers, so obviously we stay connected with those, and we try to get to those annually, if not every 2 years. And then we usually choose 10 other businesses. I don't want to say randomly, but we try to focus. When we've talked a lot about redevelopment with the EDA, we've made a point to try to pick out, most recently, things in certain areas that we know that you have brought up some thoughts in regards to supporting redevelopment in those spots. So we're trying to focus in on those. It's been a little tricky to get those scheduled, but we continue to work on those. So the reason to bring this back before you today is we're coming to January. We're coming to a new contract cycle, and there's a request from the chamber to renew and want, like we do with so many things, we want to make sure we're not just doing the same thing we always do. We're being thoughtful about how we use these resources. The resources come down to about $10,000 a year max. The way it's set up, if they can, it's $5,000 initially, and then if they can complete all of the 15 visits and give us a report at the end of the year, they get the additional $5,000. That hasn't happened for a few years, so it's basically been $5,000 a year the last couple of years. We are in a position where we are also talking to them about frequency, and so they proposed, as you could see in your packet, to going down to 12 instead of the 15. I don't know what the magic number is, quite honestly. I'd rather have quality visits than quantity of visits. We want to make sure they're focused. So that's something we're going to be looking at. We have a series of questions we tend to ask. The mayor has been kind enough to come to many of these meetings, and it's a great conversation and dialogue. There's a list of questions of data we want to get, but it's a conversation. We don't ask them like questions. We just know them by heart, and they just sit there, and we're aware of them. So we're looking at moving forward. How do we want to do that? There were 3 questions in your packet that I had asked about. One was in relation to the frequency, and then also the businesses we're focusing in on. And the third is, do we want to bring this in-house, or do we want to continue the relationship for another year? And with that, this really is a discussion. So with that, I'll turn it over to the EDA, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. I have had a lot of experience with this BRE&A, with these visits, and I would say the last couple, the St. Paul Chamber wasn't even involved. I know that I love the chamber. I think that they do a wonderful job with businesses. I think that we have, my opinion is that we have come to a point where we can do this ourselves. There have been staffing changes, and that has been a challenge, I think. So we've gone ahead and done these visits. I don't know that there is a magic number. I agree with you. I think that the quality visits need to, that should be the focus rather than having a specific number that we're trying to reach. I like the idea of figuring out the different sectors. We do have those legacy businesses that we go to. I would encourage council members, if you ever want to come along, I think Danette, in the past, you've actually been doing most of the scheduling for these. For some time, yes, you have. And I would encourage council members to have that opportunity to sit down and talk with our businesses and learn from them, tell them how much we appreciate them, find out, are they going to be growing, what else might they need? They've been in the position where they've talked to Danette about if they have growth spurts coming, where else in Maplewood might they find a place to land? So they are very valuable. But I guess I'm looking at it and saying, I don't know that we need to spend $10,000 on it when we've kind of been doing it because their staffing levels have just not been there to support the visits with us. So that's my thinking. Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. I think right away it's a no for me. If I'm a business, I would want to hear from you as the community development director of our city. You are that direct contact to our city, so my preference is that I would have you call versus the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce to do it. So I would say if we keep this in-house, I think it would be more meaningful, more impactful, and we talk about being intentional. I think there's a lot of other businesses in our city, hundreds of businesses, the small and the micro entrepreneurs in our city that also needs the support and the help that I think we can do a better job at that. And if in the case we want to explore the options of perhaps having a community partner to come in to do this work, I think there's a lot of other organizations within the area here that would understand the needs of our community a little bit more. I think St. Paul's a little bit, nothing wrong with the work that they do. I think they do great work, but organizations such as the White Bear Chamber or the Isaba Chamber or other organizations here in local to Maplewood, I think those folks would better support this initiative. But I think in-house is what we can do, and if in the last year, from what you've shared with us, they have not been able to complete what their commitment has been on the other end, from a business perspective, I would not be comfortable going forward with another contract again.
Councilmember Cave.
I would agree with both of you. I believe we should have it in-house. I'm really proud of the work you do, Danette. I mean, you've taken it to a different level, which it's also going to mean more on your plate. But you do already go see the businesses, you have a relationship with them, you know what goes on in our city, and you should be the first point of contact. You've already established different things in our city where you did that seminar with all the small businesses. I think you've opened up a door with partnerships with that, and you're really great at that. So you taking this role and just moving it, keeping it in-house, I think it's going to benefit the city.
Councilmember Juniman.
I agree with everybody who's already spoken, and I do believe one of the things that doing it in-house, especially with you doing it, would say to the businesses that there's an authenticity about it that isn't there when you have another outside agency doing it.
That's right.
Councilmember Villavicencio, we haven't heard from you. Your thoughts?
Basically ditto of everybody else.
Okay. Danette, does that give you, we don't have to take a formal action, but does that give you some clarity there?
Thank you, very helpful. We'll move
Okay.
forward in that regard, and thank you for the kind words, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next, we have the Rice-Larpenter Alliance funding. This is your topic as well.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the EDA. This particular topic, we did actually, this is the one I was thinking of previously, but we did actually start on this conversation, I want to say it was February. It was earlier in 2025. The executive director of the Rice-Larpenter Alliance, Kim O'Brien, came and spoke in regards to their efforts with the Rice-Larpenter Alliance. As you all are very familiar, I won't talk a lot about the background, but this is a partnership between Roseville, St. Paul, Ramsey County, and ourselves. We have a unique situation of intersections all leading to these other communities, and we've been working in collaboration. I want to say since 2018, there was strategic visioning that took place at that point, and RLA grew out of that. As the mayor had mentioned at that last conversation, they had a timeline that was envisioned for that, and I'll let her speak to that if she likes in regards to that. But we have continued to move forward with the same established funding mechanism that we previously had, the same level, and then we've augmented it a bit over the last 3 years with additional funding to help cover the winter warm-up event, which, by the way, cheapless plug, December 13th, be there. 1 o'clock, 1 to 3, it's going to be amazing. Anyway, we're at a point now where we also are going to be talking about what do we want to do in the future. So it seems like a great time to decide, do we in fact want to do the $20,000 level for the next 3 years and just call it part of our membership fee for the next 3 years. So in 2028, have it sunset and just give them time out of respect for our partners, that they realize this is coming. And it really is more for discussion purposes. Tonight, the hope is to be able to give the Alliance some guidance, because we're getting to the point where we need to have the next iteration be written up. And I put the last iteration in there, but the next one's coming. So I want to be able to give them parameters to work under. So with that, I'll turn it over to you for discussion.
Thank you. Council members, or commissioners, I guess, back in 2018, the discussion was that there would be contribution from the cities for a period up to 10 years. And the goal was ultimately, to get this thing going, we wanted to make sure that they had enough time for success. They had enough of a runway for success. And then it would be basically phasing out and making this part of the community, so that the community comes in and takes over running RLA. That has always been the thinking of this. And certainly, I've had conversations with Roseville about this as well. They were there during those initial meetings back in 2018. So I support us, moving forward with the $20,000, and then that brings us up into 2028. But I think we need to let Rice Larpenteur Alliance know, there are other, and this is always the thing that has been out there. We want to make sure that this is successful. There are other neighborhoods too that haven't gotten this kind of focus. The unique part about this is that it's 3 cities in 1 county, and we all came together in one spot. And it was a spot that basically had kind of been forgotten by all 3 cities and by the county. I know from, on the St. Paul side, on the Maplewood side, there were some troubling businesses in that location. And the one thing that I can say is that Rice Larpenteur has been a huge success. If you look at it today, this is a wonderful, thriving community. And I think having that additional 3 years, which brings us to the 10-year time frame, they will be better equipped to then take that role over. Because we have other needs in our other neighborhoods that we could possibly focus on. But I want to make sure that we do this justice, because this has been kind of a labor of love for all 3 cities. And I think it's been really representative of the collaboration that can happen when 3 cities in a county come together and say, we care about this community, we want to see what we can do to help it thrive. And so, and I'll second that, going to the winter warmer, I want to make sure I invite everybody. It is going to be positively frigid. That's all I can say, is that I've already got my wardrobe figured out for that. I'm going to, I got the big sorrel boots coming out. It's, this is going to be awful. Last year, I know Danette was there too, it was raining. And the poor little llamas with their little beanie caps on, they were standing in the rain. Our fire truck came, and it was doing hydroplaning down the road, so they had to go back because the roads froze and it was dangerous. And so we had to actually call it early. The year before that, it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So who knows? But today, it is going to be frigid. But I'm going to be out there. I hope all you will too. So anyway, I support this. I think that we are fulfilling our obligation and our commitment that we made to this neighborhood. Other thoughts? Councilmember Cave?
I will agree with what you said. And I also like the fact that we're giving 3 years and having an end. We're not just doing this year to year and saying, you know what, you need, just to give them a heads up, you need a plan
Right.
at the end of the 3 years. So,
And that
I'm
could
in
include
support.
grants or,
Yeah.
there are all sorts of different funding sources too, but we're kind of moving it forward. And can we count on you being out there on Saturday?
Unfortunately, no. I'll be in Vegas. Work.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
But thanks to the invite, I know, I'm bummed.
Okay.
I'm not jealous at all.
A motion.
Motion to support the continued participation in the Rice Larpenteur Alliance for the next 3 years at a level of $20,000 each year for 2026, 27, and 28.
Second.
Moved by Lee, seconded by Villavicencio. The motion is written in our packet. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. Commissioners, we are concluded with our agenda, and we're done. Thank you. We're adjourned.